Alright, can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Alright. I thought I was on crack. Oh shoot, I didn't give me up. I forgot to put my chat up. Oh, I'm so stupid. There you go. Alright, there you go, buddy. Hello everybody. I'm not dead. I definitely didn't forget to add stuff that I was supposed to. No, sorry, that could never be me. I also don't have any background music, but it's fine. When do you ever need to hear background music? Background music is like unnecessary if you catch my drift. Anyways, alright. Alright. Gotta get some more people in. Alright. Eto. But I've been meaning to schedule this for a while, but unfortunately I've been a big dumbass and I got work and I was busy. Um we're here now though. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna hop in a call because I think it'd be funny. See if anyone actually joins. Uh, there you go. Now we can get some surprise guests if we have it. But anyways, hello everybody. I'm here. You're finally at the aquarium. You know, the place where I guess belong. I don't know. Um. Oh, my cam. Okay, give me a sec. I gotta like. My camera's like not. My camera's faced way too high up. I'm like not catching me at all. All right, we should be good now. There you go. My tracking is all better. But anyways, we're here. It's been I've been meaning to do this for a while. But anyways, since we're here, we might as well start this whenever it's time. So apparently we could just go down to the coral reef section, you know. That's like a standard. I feel like almost every aquarium has this. Uh but it's a good starting point. Uh okay. Here we go. Woo, look. Oh my god. Okay, it's here. We don't have any corals with us right now, but we're starting off with a quick little diagram of a coral. So essentially, coral, if you didn't know, are just a colony of organisms that I forgot. I think it's just a colonial organism, but there's probably like a more fancy term that I could be. Oh, it's I didn't transition. There it is. My bad. I forgot I have to do that. Uh, anyways, if you didn't know, coral are colonial organisms that basically each these are made of polyps. These things are polyp. Those are like the individual coral units, I guess. The best way I could describe it as. They have a mouth, they have stinging tentacles, uh, and during the night, they have these algae called zooanthale or zooanthal algae that have a symbiotic relationship to where they are able to produce where these algae are able to photosynthesize and transfer nutrients to to said polyps in return for a home. They're not so they're both able to uh function like an animal would and has a plant would. Um, they they basically also have or that's, two different types of coral. There's hard coral and soft coral, which we'll be seeing later of in uh during this. I think it's like the next exhibit over, but generally the reef building ones, like the ones that you see most of the time, the ones that like people want to protect, those are the soft no, the hard coral. Soft corals, I kind of like an anemone, but not entirely. They're related, but it's it's different. And yeah, coral are animals. They're not plants. They can act like a plant though, 'cause they can photosynthesize. Oh, there's also some types of reefs that can form. So usually coral reefs form around the shoreline you need because uh coral generally need a bunch of sunlight. So they need to be in shallower water because obviously they need the zooxanthal algae needs to be able to eat. Uh, what BF? I don't know. I'm my whole chat is my partner. I'm trying to schizo max here. So I think that's how you're supposed to say it if you're an idol. Yeah, cuz I'm the perfect idol. Even when I speak, even when I move my mouth. Now anyways, so generally coral reefs tend to build around uh a volcanic island. A fringing reef is basically like kind of the most basic. So it just forms around the perimeter of a volcanic island and it just kind of sits there. And then eventually, a lot of the time, volcanic islands sink due to their volatile nature. Uh when the volcanic island does a good amount of sinking and then there's basically a water barrier or moat between the reef and the island. That is what call a barrier reef. And then an atoll is basically once this island is fully sunk down, uh, it is just a circle of the perimeter, and inside is the coral reef. That is an atoll. Anyways, this is a type of hard coral. I believe this is an elk coral. Yeah, there's also things such as elk coral. There's also such things as staghorn coral, brain coral. Just any coral that builds a hard like calcium carbonate skeleton. Because of these skeletons, they also need a good amount of minerals as well, and they can't be acidic. Because if they're acidic, then the skeleton breaks down, and then it's kind of over. Uh, not having a lot of minerals and acidity is also important for creatures that also make their skeletons out of calcium or their exoskeletons, such as mollusks and crustaceans. I have experience from this because for keeping shrimp, you do need to have a good amount of calcium in their water, or they cannot molt properly and they will die. Um, this I don't know how much you need it between saltwater fish, but for freshwater shrimp, uh, at least my hard ass water from California seems to do a good enough job of keeping these guys healthy with their and have enough nutrients flow. Um, I do feed them calcium sticks every once in a while though, so yeah, good to know. And then oh wait, also uh coral hard corals are I think it's like eight segmented, and then soft corals are, I believe, 6. Don't quote me on that, though. I forgot. I've been busy with too many such other stuff. And, yeah, this is a type of, soft coral called a mushroom coral. Basically, they have, like, a gel or, like, a jelly called mesoglia. I'm just looking at, like, this species card that, you're reading, so, but I can add some extra clarifications if anything, like, comes on the top of my head. And then So that's yeah, basically, the jelly or the mesogelia just, like, holds the polyps together. These also have, like, a stronger type of venom, so that's why I did the, anemone comparison earlier. Uh, I believe hard crows also have venom as well, but they're not as potent because the skeleton protects them because whenever the polyps feel threatened, they just retreat back to their calcium carbonate skeleton. Anyways, next we're gonna do the clear thing and look at some super awesome reef fish. Starting off with tangs. Everybody knows what a tang is. They're just like general general feeders. They feed on algae. Apparently in the aquarium space, I can't I'm not, like, too sure on this because I don't keep saltwater fish. I only do freshwater for now. Will I do it saltwater? Maybe? I don't know. It's pretty expensive though, so I can't say for certain. Uh, usually they're known to be fairly aggressive and, usually wanna keep, like, only one in, like, a genus. I don't remember which one the blue tang's a part of, but, you only wanna keep one of that genus. Which is basically like, just a smaller group of species linked together. Uh, my genus name is, like, my last name. Photoblepharon, yeah, that's the genus I'm part of. That's the genus of some flashlight fish, but there's a lot. There's, like, several different genus. I know, like, the one that you usually see, the Pacific flashlight fish is called Anomalops, I think? I don't know, I'm really bad with Latin names. Uh but anyways, tangs also have a usually have some type of spine that has venom or is just pokey, just as a means of defense. We also have this gem tang. These are like these are very cool fish. I believe they're around in the Mediterranean, I think, but they're also pretty expensive. I think I saw a fish store have them for pre-order. They were like $400. Uh, they're- uh, yeah, that's a pretty expensive fish, and If and if you want, you could try to keep one. I mean, they're not impossible to get. They're just pretty expensive because they're hard to catch, and you don't want to like kill their population too hard. Anyways, let's go move on. Next up, we have grandmas. Woo! These are just like another fish. Just kind of generalist carnivores. They eat like just stuff smaller than them, like plankton and stuff like that. Apparently they live in generally deeper water fish. Uh, they have very cool colors. This is a royal grandma right here. They look very pretty. Also they have purple. Why is it so purple? I believe coral reef fish are more colorful because I think it's easier for them to stand out more, which isn't a problem because like, also the coral is also very generally very colorful. But, yeah, these are Lakers colors. I don't have any opinions on basketball fans or basketball in general, but I like purple, so this guy gets a pass because he's cool. Next up, we have angelfish. Uh, so these guys, while eating, like, small fish, plankton, crustaceans, stuff like that, they also do occasionally eat sponges. Like young sponges, so they're important for that way. They can control the population of fast-eating sponges, and along they're also hermaphrodites. I believe, if I'm correct, they go from female to male, but let me like just check real quick. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay, so it is female to male. I'm right. Clownfish are male to female. So, uh, Marlin would have actually become a female if the movie was biologically accurate because the most dominant one is the one that changes gender. For wrasse, it's also I believe it's also female to male, but it usually just depends, and it is generally like a one-time thing. I'm not gonna. It's just kind. It's a more of a survival tactic, but like they both have it. Basically, how it works is that they both have like uh, a set, and then once they're ready, they basically just like have hormones that trigger the development of one and then the disintegration, I guess, of the other one. I think that's the best way to put it. But yeah, other than that, let's just move on. I think we have one more angelfish here to look at though. But this is a dwarf flame angelfish, if anyone was wondering. Oh nope. Anyways, we got a blenny. Lawn spot blenny, I believe is what it's called, a red spot blenny. These are a very wide range families. They have like over 100 species, I think, probably even like 200, but I don't quite remember. Some live in the water, but some are also like, some also live in the intertidal zone. That's basically where like the tide pools are. If you ever go there, that's what the intertidal zone is, which is actually, at least for marine species, a very harsh environment because it changes greatly depending on the tide. You're constantly getting crashed with waves. And you have to deal with periods of dryness because of the water, the tide just not reaching far enough, which is why some of these blennies have adapted to breathing air. And also like they have like the top fins, I believe. They have an organ called a siri, which is, if I'm pronouncing it right, uh no, or a siri, or something like that. Yeah, it's the things that are on top of their heads. They're mainly just they're used to help like communicate between others of their own species. Some are obviously more pronounced than others. No, it's definitely not a rehash of that. What do you mean? This is an aquarium date. What are you talking about? This is an original idea. It was either that or I do the Osaka Aquarium walkthrough, but this is what the fans wanted, so we're doing this again. Anyways, um, is anyways, uh, there's also some other blennies that mimic other species. There is one called a saber-tooth blenny, I believe. That mimics a cleaner wrasse. So when a fish is like, "Hey yo, can you clean me?" Instead of cleaning him, he just takes a chunk out of him, and he's like, "Yummy, cool, right?" But if there's way too many blennies for me to Anyways, we're yeah, this is a red spot blenny. Anyways, we're gonna move on now. Next up is, let's see here. Oh yeah, these polychaetes, aka bobbit worms. If you guys don't do well with insects, or I guess insect-like creatures, sorry, but this is a bobbit worm. It's not really a worm. It's a polychaete. Polychaete. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's polychaete. I'm just gonna call it polychaete. Basically, they're just ambush predators. They wait in the sand or the sediment or whatever the bottom is, wait for a fish to pass them, and then they eat them. Classic camper strategies. Uh, these guys can be like 10 feet long. So just imagine that. That's like 10 feet. Yeah, that's pretty wild. These guys are actually very old species as well. Some are known to be, at least their lineage dates back to 400 million years ago. And these guys are also segmented. So like which so they can break and then they can regrow. So yeah, you kind of just have to get all of it, or else that one part will regrow and just still be around. You can get these in aquariums. In fact, I was actually at a fish store that was like by my house. It's like a saltwater specialty store. It's pretty small. Uh, one of the tanks did have a big ass bobbit worm in it. Well, not big, at least big for a bobbit worm. It was probably only like a foot and a half at most. But it was still crazy because it was just sitting there, and I forget if there is like medication to treat them or you just gotta like manually remove them because I feel like these guys would be pretty hardy. I know like I know freshwater aquariums can get dragonfly larvae, and you can't really medicine them because the amount of medicine it would take to kill them would also kill your fish. So usually you just kind of have to hold the L, take the L, and remove them. Next up, though, we have parrotfish. These guys are pretty cool. They eat algae, but they also eat coral as well. Um, so they do eat coral, but they are still healthy for the environment. They help manage dead coral and stuff like that, and when they break them down, they basically poop them out as sand, and that sand can be used to help nourish new corals and basically just recycle sediment, sand, stuff like that, which is always good for nature. You don't want to have something sitting there for too long. They do have pharyngeal jaws, which in this case, a pharyngeal jaw is a jaw that's like kind of in the back of their throat. So like they have the main beak or teeth, and then they have in the back they have another jaw. I believe on we're gonna be coming up across one right now. Yep. This is what they look like. But this is basically what's in the back of their throat that helps them break down coral. Um, other fish have this too. Eels have this. Loaches, I think, have some. I think some loaches have it. If I'm correct, I think they are because I remember there's a species called a yo-yo loach, which then uses its pharyngeal jaw to make noises. Like fish don't really have vocal cords. Uh, but anyways, like they also sleep. When they sleep, they have like a mucus bubble that surrounds them. What this does is that it protects them from parasites, or at least or puts a barrier around them to prevent parasites from coming in. It looks like this, if anyone was wondering. So it's actually kind of cute that they have just a bubble around them. They just put a bubble around themselves when they're sleeping. But anyways, next up we have a pretty interesting creature, if I'd say so myself. But over here, they have a this is a hermit crab that lives inside of coral and just kind of filter feeds from them. It's not really like a symbiotic relationship. They just kind of live there, and the coral doesn't really care. It doesn't do too much to them. But let me see if I can find the scientific name or the Latin name. I am notoriously awful with these. Uh, okay, it is called Hagarita harmsea. Don't ask me what that means, because again, I never took a formal class on this stuff. So, oh, next up, we're gonna get a little shark exhibit. A lot of places have these. We have these are just some gray and white tip reef sharks. They're kind of like the primary low level predators of the reef. They're not the apex though. The apex predators are our tiger sharks, and they are bigger. And tiger sharks will literally eat anything. I uh I believe stomach content surveys have found them to have like tires in them, if I'm correct. But yeah, they're generally nocturnal hunters. White tips, what they like to do is spend time huddled in caves. And okay, there's also apparently when I learned this, there's a there is a the reef white tips, which is what we're talking about. And then there's the oceanic white tips, which are like two completely different species of shark. They're like not even that related to each other. I mean, obviously they're like pretty related to each other because they're a shark, but it's not like direct sibling lineages. I guess is how I guess the best way to call it. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, here's the white tip. Here's a gray. We start with black tip shark, and then next up we have a pretty. Oh, this tank has a an octopus and a grouper. So these guys actually do a symbiotic hunting pair where essentially what that does is the octopus goes through the cracks and of like coral to fish people out or to fish out small fish, and the grouper can catch the ones that decide to escape in order to get the octopus. uh this happens in other cases too. I believe the badger and coyote do this as well. American badger, which actually is like completely different from other badgers, which is kind of crazy. But that's a mammal talk. That's mammal talk, and we're doing fish right now, so let's just worry about fish for the time being. Anyways, I'm pretty sure octopuses are pretty known. They're known for being really smart, solving puzzles, completing mazes, stuff like that, opening jars. Anyway, anyways, I feel like when you ever watch a video of animal trivia, I feel like these guys are in there a lot. Mainly just because they're kind of weird and they're kind of cool at the same time. Their brain is located below their stomach. Yeah, they have three hearts, believe that are actually in their head cavity, and they have blue blood. I'm pretty sure you've heard that before from somewhere because they like to give that piece of trivia a lot. I don't know why. Uh, Groupers can also change sex. These are also a sex change fish. I believe it's also female to male for them. But yeah, they are the hermaphrodite or sex changers. And while they don't have it here, sorry. There's also some reports of octopuses punching groupers or other fish if they're feeling scammed out of like the partnership that they have. And this doesn't even extend to groupers. This just extends to all fish. So like if an octopus gets like scammed by a grouper, he's gonna become racist to like every fish they see, which is a fun thing to think. It was like, hey you, don't get your fish ass out of here. I got scammed by you once. I'm never falling for you. I am never falling for you again. Okay, anyways. Groupers also do this with eels. It's the same thing, basically. Eels slip through the cracks. Um, Grouper eats the ones that run away. Eel eats the ones that stay inside and try to hide. They also have a pharyngeal jaw on the back of their throat. It's just a bunch of teeth. They use it. For them, they use it to help eat fish because they don't do like the suction feeding that a lot of other predators do, where they basically like create a vacuum that like pulls the fish into their mouth. So when you see a fish be like, whoa, like pull them in, like stretch out their jaw really wide, that's their goal. Uh, I think it's called gape and suck feeding, but I just like to call. I guess it's not exactly suction feeding because it's not as like complex, but it's like the same principle. And Moors are actually fairly intelligent, being able to communicate with each other and like, you know, with octopuses and stuff like with groupers and stuff like that to coordinate strategies. I don't know if they passed the mirror test though, but I know that manta rays actually have passed the mirror test. So rays like that are actually very smart. Next up though, we're gonna just go back to some smaller predators, or I guess like middle of the food chain guys. Uh, we have barracudas. They're basic. These guys are schooling fish, so you'll see a lot of them. They basically just feed on smaller fishes. Because because the fish they eat are like small, and they like to track them based on the reflection of their scales, because fish scales are generally pretty. What do you mean? Are you hating on a barracuda? Don't hate on the barracuda. don't hate on him like that. He is a good boy. Look at him or her or it, I don't know. Look at this fish. How can you call this fish ugly? Come on, don't be like that. But they do like metal objects. So if you're in an area swimming with barracudas, I suggest not wearing them because they may be attracted to you and might do a bite. Uh, I don't. They're not that big, so I don't. It wouldn't be like deadly, but they can definitely draw blood and it definitely will not be pleasant. So just don't do it. But also, a lot of things with fish is biological magnification. Uh, if you don't know what that is, it's essentially the accumulation of toxins as it goes up through the food chain. For example, at least in like your my high school biology class, I don't know if like any of other high school biology classes also did this, but why is I left eye closing so much? Holy, okay. Uh, they use the example of DDT in bald eagles. So after fertilizer runoffs, it would get into the water, like insects and stuff like that. Fish would eat them, and they would accumulate those toxins. And then an eagle would eat multiple of those fish. So some of the toxins that they have will build up into said eagle. And what the DDT did to the eagle was that it made their eggshells a lot more fragile, so they were a lot more prone to breaking, which almost caused the whole ass species to go extinct until we decided to lock in and stop using DDT. And now they are recovering at least. In places like Alaska, they're pretty abundant. I believe they're actually kind of like seagulls. Like if you're going piers, you just see a bunch of bald eagles like harassing citizens, like how seagulls would here. So I guess it's a little cooler. Uh, but these guys don't build up DDT. They build up something called a Ciguatera. Yeah, Ciguatera toxin. I believe it's from like algae that fish eat, and then barracuda eat those fish. They build it up inside them. It is actually can cause you to get sick, but I believe it goes by the saying of like if you use sorry, if you just eat smaller barracuda, they won't have as much in them because they've eaten less fish and they have less body mass. This game that goes in with like mercury as well. Bigger fish and or other predatory animals like penguins can be fairly high in mercury because they get it from all the fish they eat. But in that case, it should be fine. Just like don't be an idiot and eat them constantly. But if you eat them once in a while, it's like not that big of a deal. But this is actually the end of this section. I believe the next exhibit they have is an African lakes exhibit, which is actually why I wanted to go to this aquarium. They have some very interesting exhibits that you don't really see a lot. So I felt like you guys could get a good learning experience from coming here. But next up, we have yeah, we have the African Lake slash the Okavango Delta. Uh, but you have the Great Lakes are comprised of mainly, at least for the ones that we're going to be talking about, or the ones that they highlight in this video, is Tanganyika, Victoria, Malawi. They are the largest lakes in Africa, and they hold about 27% of the world's like usable water. Uh, they basically what happen is that they're lakes that become landlocked by like rift valleys. So they basically so like the mountain ranges like keep them in. They've almost become like a mini ocean. But this is actually this is not the lakes. This is the Okavango Delta. We'll get you have a diagram of the lakes right next to it, but we're just gonna be paying attention to this for now. Essentially, this is just like it's a delta that gets water from the Kalahari Desert, and it's and like the Angala, it was like it gets stopped by the Angala Highlands. So what that happens is that it creates a very like flat flat piece of land that's like no gradient, so the water ends up just sitting there. Like after the rainy season, after all the rain is bled out, and then it and then the water like runs off. Because usually what happens in lakes is that water runs off into the ocean. Second. Sorry, let me drink some more water. But basically this at the dry season, this actually becomes really basically it becomes it's a huge ass wetland, and a lot of animals like to use this as a spot for the dry season. Um, along with some fish as well. What one of these like common creatures there is the oh wait, never mind. Yeah, here's a diagram of all the lakes. Victoria, Malawi's right here. Tanganyika's right here. Then there's some little other lakes right here. Erikivu, Albert. I don't know too much about them because they kind of just like do that. Um, no, but like the cichlids are the ones that like live here. And first up, we got Nile crocodiles. Everyone knows who these guys are. If you ever watched the video about the Great Migration, you have the zebras, the antelopes crossing the river, and then you get jumped by one of these guys. You've seen them. You know about crocodiles. They're old. They're like related to the dinosaurs, but not really. Uh, they they kill their prey by grabbing them and death rolling them. That's why they have such a powerful bite force, so they can hold down the prey while they do that. Because if they do that, they will basically just kill them like instantly. It'll be like GG's. They either from like trauma or just like drowning. Usually it's drowning because you know they live in water. It's easier to do that in water because like imagine doing that on land. You just kept hitting your head on the floor. That doesn't sound fun. But these guys like to take advantage of the flooding by like creating little tunnels that they can like swim through. There's like a doc I forgot what it's called, but if you just search up Nile crocodiles Okavanga Delta, there is a documentary that goes into them filming these crocodiles, and it was actually very cool. Uh they Another fun fact is that they have it's called what they call a nictitating membrane, which is basically just a membrane that they use to cover their eyes while they're swimming. Just to protect they act like, natural goggles in a way, and it does make them see worse apparently, though, because they tested that in the documentary, and they weren't as responsive to visual movement. These guys also, they can also live in brackish water, like estuaries and stuff like that. It's, like, not that surprising because, they don't, like, have to process, minerals like fish do, so homeostasis fish need to keep a balance of homeostasis to where they uh take in water and excrete um minerals. Freshwater fish release a lot of water and take in a lot of minerals. Saltwater fish take in a lot of water, release a lot of minerals. If you place them in the opposite section, saltwater fish will explode and the freshwater fish will dry up or shrivel because they're expelling too much water or taking in too much water. Anyways, then anyways, here's some like little fish that like you see that they have in here. Just a small like community tank. They have one of these guys. These are called mormyrids. I believe this one's called a bulldog fish, if I'm correct. Um, One of the more common cousins. Hello, Jeremy. A lot of I think one of the cousins or same species in the genus or family is the elephant nose fish. You can see them quite often in fish stores. So, but these guys are like related to them. They have these guys have electroreception, and then they're able to communicate with that as well through like electrical signals and like pauses. It's I don't remember exactly how many cues they have, but they have a lot. That is basically their form of communication instead of making noises. Rin is one of my friends. Like high school real life friends. Uh, we also have squeaker catfish. They're called squeaker catfish because they make a squeaking noise with the top of their fins, I believe. We're doing an aquarium trip. Right now we're looking at we're in the African lakes exhibit. This is a squeaker catfish. It is basically a catfish that feeds on plankton and detritus. Detritus is like just basically a bunch of like decaying material that's like on the bottom of like lakes in fresh water. It's I just call it most of the time we just call it crap because that's kind of what it is, but not exactly. Uh, there's also a cuckoo catfish or a synodontis. What they do is they lay eggs in they eat cichlid eggs and they lay their eggs in they lay their eggs in cichlids, mouth brooding cichlids. So a lot of cichlids like to hold their eggs in their mouth for protection. I don't think yeah, I think it's like Mbunas because I know jewel cichlids don't do that. I remember one time my jewel cichlids I've kept spawned and they like just laid eggs in the inside of a jar or the inside of a log that we have in there. But um these guys just lay their eggs in the mouth brooding cichlids and when those babies hatch, they eat the other eggs. Uh Fish of the Synodontis species also can swim upside down. There is I don't think yeah, there isn't one, but we don't have it right here with us right now. But there is a fish that is known to swim upside down. Is called the upside down catfish. For obvious reasons. From what I've remembered looking up, they do it because it creates less drag and it's easier to get access to oxygen. Because like some fish, what they do is they go up to the top of the surface and take a gulp because oxygen generally generally tends to collect more at the top of the water because that's where like the most of the diffusion happens. But if you're at the bottom, you don't get as much. So when these catfish like living in low oxygen waters. So by being upside down, it allows them to get more oxygen easy and like take a breath. And next, we got a bigger catfish. This eats the guys that we were just talking about earlier. This is a sharp tooth catfish. Uh, these guys also come from poorly oxygenated waters. Which so they also go for air. They can also like climb stuff really well. Like this guy's like literally climbing up a stream and like without water. Uh, because of how adaptive they are invasive in some parts of the world, such as uh Brazil and Southeast Asia. Eh, catfish crime is not that big of a deal. It's not cannibalism is only within the same species. Chimpanzees eat other monkeys. Lions can eat up smaller cats. It's not that big of a deal. Anyways, this is a tigerfish. This is just a striped tigerfish. The ones that people usually talk about are the Goliath tigerfish. Mainly because they're just bigger. So people they have like a bigger shock value, I guess. I don't know how to describe it completely, but they're kind of like piranhas. That's like the best comparison I could give. If I were to say call them anything, they're just they're a schooling fish. They're fast. But they as they grow older, they do school like less. These guys do like highly oxygenated waters, so that's why they tend to be on the surface. And one of their like the bigger species, the Goliath, has been known to attack people, but it's not like that regular, so it's not that big of a deal. And then there has been footage. I can't give it to you right now, but there has been footage of them jumping out of the air to catch a bird, which honestly is kind of cool. Uh, so this is actually going to be the first, I guess, non-marines, like aquatic species, like ones that are like bounded to the water. Next we have an otter. Everyone knows what an otter is, but this is specifically the African clawless otter. It does have like one of the widest ranges amongst the otters. They're also they eat things like they basically just eat whatever they can find, crustaceans, frogs, fish, stuff like that. Uh, Otters, like most mustelids, do have anal scent glands among to help them mark territory and for defense. They're not as smelly though as like honey badgers or wolverines. Those guys' anal glands smell really bad because it's used to like ward off predators as like a deterrent. These guys they use it more for communication, but they also still smell kind of bad, which is why I wouldn't recommend keeping an otter as a pet. Despite those weird Japanese videos of them making you think otherwise, please do not do that. Um, they can't spend up to 5 minutes underwater, and then which is a pretty impressive time. Like that's like a regular thing. Like humans, we have to like lock in for that. And they also have a dexterity with their hands. They use to manipulate objects, catch fish, and eat them as well. Okay, so oh yeah, these guys now perch. Yeah, these guys are like very common for people to catch and eat. They grow really fast and they can get up to like 4 feet. These guys, because of those factors, they're very invasive. Fun quick story about them. Uh, so these guys aren't native to some. They're native to some of the lakes of Africa, but not all of them. So what happened was that they wanted to stock these fish in Lake Victoria for commercial reasons. And what happened after that is these guys ended up eating all the native cichlids there. So yeah, didn't work out too well. Hello, hello, cherry apple. Other fish that are like common to eat are like tilapia. You can like find tilapia at like every supermarket or Asian grocery store. You know what you should know what that is. Anyways, next up, we're gonna actually get into the fish that people generally like, or like the popular ones. These are African cichlids. These are kind of like the closest to saltwater fish that you can get as a freshwater. These guys are pretty much endemic to the lakes of Africa. A lot of them also live in the Great Lakes as well. I used to like tilapia as a kid a lot. Now I don't really eat it too much. Uh, I haven't been on seafood in a while, but I have been getting back into it. I have learned though that I do not care about sushi at all or sashimi. Raw fish is just like kind of mid. I'm gonna be like super real. It is mid. This is a gold flame cichlid. It's a genus of Haplochromis. These guys are um these guys are I believe in Lake Victoria. Uh, so just as a quick basis, a lot of fish, at least for like in the fish keeping world, African cichlids are generally divided into Victoria, Malawi, and Tanganyika. A lot of them can mix, so it's not that important. It's mainly just for theming. But these guys are notoriously aggressive. So when you do get them, you have to like get a lot of them. Like you need to like overstock your fish tank type deal because basically what it is the idea behind overstocking is to make it so that for each individual fish, the amount of effort they would have to put in to get territory would just be not be worth it. So, but in exchange for that, you have to do a lot more maintenance because you can overstock tanks if you like have to. Like a lot of fish stores do it because they want to like sell more fish to get more money. Normal stuff. But yeah, you are gonna have to maintenance a lot more. I know, like that's kind of a problem we had with fish keep with this. Uh, when a cichlid died, it would leave a hole open, and the other cichlids would kill each other. And then after that, only be like one, and it's like really awful because it's really bad with adding new cichlids as well. They will generally like to get bullied, and they will die, especially if they're like smaller too. Now, at some point, you may just need to like give up the tank and just start fresh. But we're gonna be going through a lot of these because they do have a lot of cichlid tanks because a lot of people because they're really pretty. Uh, except these are peacock cichlids. These guys are from Lake Tanganyika. They're like the most common, I believe. I don't quote me, but I see these guys everywhere, and like they usually have a whole dedicated like section to themselves in a fish store. But yeah. Oh, this is a gold Julie cichlid. This is just like now we're gonna get to like some of the smaller cichlids because those back there were like the really big ones, or not the really big ones, but the bigger ones that are like kind of just the closest thing to like a saltwater fish. These guys like to live in a lot of cichlids like to live in rock crevices. These are one of them. We also have okay, this is a Frontosia. This is in Lake Victoria. They have a nuchal hump that to make them look more sexually appealing to other fish. To me, not really. We don't do that here. Flashlight fish don't really have any of those traits. But these guys actually do get pretty big. I think you will need like a triple digit gallon aquarium to keep them, if not a 75 at worst. Oh wait, shoot. Oh, we skipped one. Give me a second. We can go back to it. But let me see if I could just like we could go back to it real quick. Oh, okay, not this is too far. Oh, sorry, we ended up going a little bit too far back. My bad. I got lost. Yeah, yeah, I gotta get through this whole section. Right, yeah, this is the reef section. Right, here we go. Now we're back. So Lake Tanganyika is known for having rocky surface fish. Oh, okay, not here. Here it is, yeah. So on Lake Tanganyika, there's a lot of fish that live on the rocky shorelines, or like live on like the rocky areas, live in rocks. Some others like live in shells. These are obviously called shell dweller cichlids. One of the examples right here is a Neolamprologus multifasciatus. This is a shell dweller cichlid. Um, these guys are actually very cool. I will want to keep these guys one day. They're very small. They're like an inch or two. I think they're like 2 inches or so. You can keep them in like a 20 gallon or a 15 gallon. Just put a couple of shells in there and let them do their work. The great thing about these guys is that you don't have to aquascape or design your tank at all. Because even if you do, they're gonna mess it up anyways. Because they like to sift around sand to build around their shells. So you get to also see them engineer their little shell houses by carrying sand in their mouths and spitting them out somewhere else. It'll be very awesome and fun, and at least low effort on the decoration side because why put effort if they're gonna ruin it anyways? It's like the childcare mentality. Anyways, next up, yeah, flamingos. They're everyone. Okay, these guys, yeah, they like to gather in like they usually like to use this the more saline spots as a feeding grounds. the volcanic minerals from these areas creates more algae, which then gives more spots for the for gives a better habitat. Yep, exactly. There's some other fish that spit sand too. I forgot what it's called though. It's a saltwater fish, but what they do is they defend by spitting sand. It might just be called a sand spitting fish. Let me look it up. They didn't have one in here. It's a type of goby. But yeah, they also do that for defense instead of like, like move like just general architecture. But yeah. These are flamingos. These guys are like in the San Diego Zoo. They're like the first thing you see usually. Uh if they're filter feeders, all they do is just sit in the grass, sit in water, saline water, collect shrimp. That's how they get pink. They get really bright colors here because the volcanic minerals provides good nutrient for algae, which then gives a good nutrient for the crustaceans that they eat. Oh, next up, okay. The next up we have we're done from Africa. We're gonna go to the whole all the way to the northern hemisphere, to the western hemisphere, and we're gonna be focusing on North American fish because you might as well. We're in the good old U.S. of A. And the good old US of A is very ignored a lot of the times. So that's why I wanted to. I wanted that's why I want to go here. It's a nice highlight. Yeah, yeah. It's a nice highlight because you don't really see these guys like at all. Like I can't remember where these like last time I've seen like a dedicated North American tank. But overall, this is a spotted matom, I believe. But across like America, especially in the East Coast, you get a lot of these little guys. They're called mad toms. They're just essentially just small catfish. These guys are used to judge the health of an ecosystem because they need high oxygen and are very sensitive to pollutants. You'll find these guys just like hiding under rocks. Like what they do is when you catch them, that's how they usually get caught. Uh, they're also venomous too. They have spines, like on their their dorsal fin right here. Uh, some of them are venomous. I think, at least for a lot of catfish, they are. I know plecos have this. I distinctly remember trying to catch a big ass common pleco that we got, and when I tried to put my hand over it, I saw like I didn't get stabbed by it at least, but I did feel that that his dorsal fin got significantly harder. So yeah, it's like a pretty common trait amongst catfish. Next up, we have darters. Um, Basically, these guys like living in like clear, fast-moving streams. They eat insects. During breeding season, they get really bright and beautiful colors, like this one over here. This is a tangerine darter. But it is one of those species where it's a sexually dimorphic species. So only the males really get this color. Females don't get this color too much. Uh, they have a couple species. This is yeah, as you can see right here, this is a rainbow darter. A pretty common fish, especially in the East Coast. If you want to know more about these fish, there's a channel called AVNJ. He's a ichthyologist that specializes in North American fish, North American freshwater fish to be more exact. Like he can tell like what genus these guys like something like this would be from like instantly. I wouldn't because I'm not him unfortunately. But these guys. But anyways, I'm just a fish enthusiast instead of like an actual job. This is a candy darter. I believe they live around in Virginia. Some can have pretty large ranges, reaching like most of the U.S., or very small ranges into like a couple pools or ponds or whatever. Mudskippers, they like the. I believe they also. Mudskippers are actually There, we had a blenny earlier, not one of the blennies that like live out in, like the intertidal zone, but we did have a blenny. Mud skippers are, I believe, a type of goby. They usually just like to hang out in like estuary type areas because in like brackish water, I believe, because you can't actually keep mud skippers in a tank. Some people have that. Yeah. Um, I've seen it before. It's very cool. Yeah, okay. So they live by mangroves. Yeah, I was okay, yeah, I'm right. They live by mangroves. Mangroves are actually a really nice hotspot for breeding because the roots provide good protection against other predators. You'll see a lot of babies of certain like I think sea bass also like go there and like some sharks also like breed there as well. But mangroves are also important protection against like salt erosion and stuff like that. So that's why like it's really important to keep those ecosystems alive. Yeah, yeah, and yes, mudskippers are a type of goby, which they actually don't have here. I think some places do though, which is always nice. Uh, anyways, another I guess it's not entirely about darters, but it's related. They're very they are uh used by certain mussels. Freshwater mussels. I believe their genus is called or family is called Lampsillus. Yeah, and what they do is the Lampsillus mussel has like a lure that's kind of looks like a worm or like some type of fish. The darter, which I don't know which darter this is. I'm not that cooked yet. But what happens here is that they go here, they get attracted to the fish. The mussel bites down on them, injects their eggs onto the uh onto the darter. The darter swims away, and then the eggs latch off. Uh, is it particularly harmful? It doesn't kill them, and it's not. I don't think it's long term has any long term effects. But I think, but I don't know. It seems kind of weird. They should, but it's nature, so it's like nature's weird in general. So it's like whatever. Next up, we have a bluegill. If anyone has ever done fishing, you've probably caught these before. They're everywhere. Uh, they're like a cichlid. Uh, they're kind of like cichlids, but not really. They're just general foragers, and they do actually create like very complex nesting areas for their for mating. You'll see them if you go down where bluegills are, which is like I guess any almost any local pond or whatever. Your you'll see them create like large circles for nests, and they will actually defend those too. That's like the only time when they get like really aggressive. There's also I don't they don't have it here, but they have a pygmy sunfish. It's a very small one. It's a sunfish that's like 2 inches, I think. They're like black, like a jet black and blue. You can keep them as a fish, as a pet, but like you don't sell them a lot here. Apparently, they're more popular in Europe. So I guess. Actually, no, I think they do. Yeah. Okay. No, never. Next up we have salmon. What's a North American exhibit without a salmon? Because if I'm correct, I think this is the fish that the U.S. government spends the most amount of money on protecting salmon because they are used for everything. We love salmon. We use their oil. We use their meat. Even like chum salmon is like put in like pet food and stuff like that and feed. But yeah, but they're life. But these guys are very important because their natural life cycle where they die like after mating. I believe it's called semelparity. Or like semelparous is the term when they die after they breed. But yeah, and then go that when spawning back the rivers they change drastically like this they become like gray to like this red green color and like their body becomes this. Um I actually been to a fish ladder in Seattle when I went there. It was pretty cool. It was salmon off season, but you would still see them, or at least either steelhead, like mainly steelheads or like other sockeye salmon, swimming through there. One time I saw a salmon that literally had a chunk ripped out of them, and one that had a huge ass worm hanging from the side of its body. Pretty cool, huh? But I have seen from when I researched people saying that they're not the methods they're using to protect the salmon are not effective. I'm not gonna make any conclusive statements though, but take that as you will. And next up we have steelhead. This is the other fish that the U.S. spends a lot of money on. I think these two are like 50% or something or some crazy number like that. Um, so there's actually two different types of steelhead. You have the ones that go to the ocean and then come back to freshwater for spawning. Those are like steelhead. But unlike salmon, they aren't summiparous, and they can spawn multiple times within their lifespan. So, so yeah. Then the other variety is the ones that just stay in freshwater. The ones that see in freshwater, we like to call rainbow trout. And I'm pretty sure all of you have heard what rainbow trout is before. Those guys are like stocked everywhere. I'm pretty sure they had some in in a Bass Pro Shop, the one that I went to once. They had they had a little like stream in the perimeter, and it was rainbow trout, brook trout, stuff like that. These guys can also both salmons and steelhead trouts are really good jumpers. These guys have been known to jump around 11 feet, which is pretty high, but they kind of need that in order to clear waterfalls and stuff. I mean, next up we have just another picture of rainbow trout. And next up we have a paddlefish. So these guys are actually a very ancient fish. They are related to sturgeons. So that means like sturgeons, um they don't have skeleton skulls. They have cartilage skeletons, which they actually devolved because their ancestors did have bony skeletons, but these guys aren't. So they rejected bone. They went back to cartilage. Um, they're they have a wide open mouth because they're filter feeders. Uh, they have their rostrum, I think is what it's called. It's that big ass nose. They have very strong electric receptors, which they can use to sense like movement of stuff around them. It's so strong to where they will actively avoid metal objects. They are sensitive to metal objects. So which makes them like avoid them hard, even like more heavily than they would just like a regular like I don't know like rock or something. Uh, Unfortunately, these guys are in trouble though because of dams. They need to migrate across streams in order to breed, kind of like salmon and stuff like that. But we haven't really put many major protections on them because we don't eat them. There was another species of paddlefish. Um, I forgot what it was called, but it was native to the Yangtze River in China. It became extinct pretty recently. I think it was declared officially extinct like somewhere within the 2000s. But before that we haven't seen one for like 30 years. But a lot of people still give up hope. Still had hope for like the fish, but it's gone now unless like somehow we get lucky enough to where we pull like environmental DNA of the Yangtze paddlefish. But yeah, it's kind of over. This is the only one left, unfortunately, because we killed the other guy. And this guy right here, right next to him, is a bowfin. They are the only member of their family, but they are related to gars. They move by oscillating this fin right here, this top fin, the dorsal fin. Yeah, they move by just waving that thing back and forth. Um, like gars and yeah, like their gar relatives and like other fish like that, they have very I think it's placoid scales, if I'm correct. Oh god, I should have remembered this stuff, but yeah, they just have really tough scales. Their heads are actually very bony, hard bony. Yeah, their head is like bony, but like a lot of their body's like made of cartilage. Anglers like these guys because apparently they put up a good fight. I guess I could see it. these do look like a fish that would put up like that would be like a tough fight to catch. They also like hiding in vegetation, so they're used to like low oxygen environments. Next up, we have the devil's hole pupfish. Uh, the fish with the smallest range in the world. I believe it's only like 50 square meters or something like that. They're located in the Devil's Hole, which I believe is a spring in like Nevada. It's in like Death Valley. No, it's not that. It's in like Death Valley or something like that. But they live in a tiny uh spring, which is called Devil's Hole, which is where they get the names Devil's Hole pupfish. Uh, these were actually, fun fact, these are actually the first endangered species. Uh, their protection was advocated by someone called Robert Rush Miller, and then this allowed with his with his efforts, they were able to put the Devil's Hole as a part of the Death Valley National Monument as a whole, and then they also spurred the Endangered Species Act. So this guy was actually responsible for endangered species and the general public keeping species conservation as a whole. But anyways, these guys actually do lack pelvic fins. I believe this is part of this not this. This is an anal fin. Pelvic fins uh would be like right under here. Right under not but like in the front of the body, like where these pectoral fins are, but not pelvic, which would be like right under here. They're also apparently very slow breeders, which is strange because a lot of pupfish they're related to live bears, and if any of you have kept live bears, you know that they're prolific breeders. So it's a little contrast, but I guess because they're so small, I guess it makes sense. Their range is so small, they would if they populated quickly, they would all die. But this next exhibit is actually going to be the last one for today. Uh, and I thought this is actually very special. This is one of the main reasons why I wanted to go here. This is an exhibit dedicated to killifish, right? Like this guy right here. Believe I forgot what its name exactly was, but killifish are related to live bears. There's over 1,200 species worldwide. Uh, they basically live where there's any type of warm water. Um, and there are two distinct types of killifish. Uh, s- some live in constant, like just like normal bodies of water, like streams, and other species live in very volatile ponds that are known to dry up. Those are called annual killifish because they only generally last around one season or 1 year, which even in like an aquarium, they still die after like a year, maybe two if you get lucky. Uh, right here is a example of a non-annual killifish. This is a gardnerary killifish. These guys are quite common in fish stores. I've seen these guys before. I've considered keeping one before. They're very cool. Uh, basically, these guys live in like just more permanent swamps and like other marshes, places like that. They can live around a couple years instead of like 1 year. They generally like to spawn in aquatic vegetation. Uh, or if you're like captive bred, what fish keepers will do is they have like a mop. It's called a spawning mop, and they essentially put it in there, and the fish will lay their eggs on the mop like as if it was like a plant. But it's more consistent, so that's why they generally use it. This is another example of a non-annual killie. This is actually probably I think the most common killifish. It's a golden wonder killie. I think they're in like Nepal or like India around. They can actually be fairly aggressive. I've seen I think a video of a gardener killifish like literally just like eating a fish that was like almost as big as it. I don't think it successfully ate it, but it did fit it in its mouth, so that's pretty impressive. But there's also some other ones. There's like a blue gullerous killifish, which they don't have here. They have clown killifish or rocket killifish because their tails look like kind of like the fire from like a rocket when it's getting launched. Quick fact about all killies is that they are jumpers. So if you do keep one, have a lid. They could because there is a very real chance of them jumping out. But moving on, we have the annual killies. So these guys are the ones that essentially how their life goes is that when the rainy season's up and they create some sort of pond, uh, they hatch and then they breed, and then when it dries up, they die. But their eggs are actually able to survive out of water for a while. I think it's for like up to like a year or like a couple months. I'm not too sure, uh, but it's like quite impressive. I remember seeing a documentary once where like a killifish was like a killifish spawned from like the footprint of an elephant, and then it later like jumped out to like a different pool, which is actually like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. They've also took studies on these guys, and and they actually found out that at least for some of them, they go through suspended animation. So what that is they basically just halt the development of like their they halt embryonic development. I believe some bears, like I think pandas have it because that's like their pandas have the ability to just like stop to pause their pregnancy if the environment isn't suited for it or suited for them to give birth. But instead of like through pregnancy, it's through like an egg. And I read a different study that wanted to see if it had any impact on their lifespan if they go through the suspended animation phase, because they only go through this phase if they're out of if there's no like wet season for a significant amount of time, just to account for like variability in seasons, stuff like that, which will probably be useful as climate's changing and the heat everything dries up quicker. But they found that them going through suspended animation doesn't impact their lifespan in any significant way, which is crazy. But anyways, this is another one, annual Achilles, but this is actually the last exhibit. This is, I believe, an Eggers killifish, but I don't. I think it's Eggers, but Notobranchus of some sort. But killifish are known to be extremely colorful. They all look around this, likes a lot of the popular ones. Unfortunately, they are the sexually dimorphic type, so females will not be as colorful as the males. I know for the Fundulopanchax, I believe the females are also colorful, but I have to check. Nope. Okay, yeah. So it's only the males. For all these guys, it's only the males that are the colorful ones, unfortunately. So you will want those. Another cool thing about these guys is that since their eggs don't need to be in water, just need to be around moisture, you can actually sell like the eggs like just as is. Some on Amazon, you can literally search up killifish eggs, and there is a plastic container of killifish eggs that you can buy. They actually sell some here too at the aquarium gift shop, but I think I'm good. I don't really have any extra spare tanks to keep an annual killifish, but that's actually the end of the aquarium. So, what did you guys think? I think I really like this place. It had types of fish that I'm not really used to keeping or that not even used to seeing because there's a lot of they have the common places. I know they don't have things like big hitters, like they don't have any sea turtles or anything like that. They don't have any marine mammals besides otters. Don't have any big open ocean fish, but I think I quite like this place. Yeah. But anyways, it was nice seeing you again. Sorry, we're not streaming after a while. I got busy locked into I got locked into AX, and right after that, I've been, like, doing a bunch of work. But I think after this, I should have some more time to stream. I might do a stream after I'm done working tomorrow. I'm not really sure, but anyways, it was just nice seeing you, but, we will have to be going now. Goodbye.